forgotten what we're talking about. Right, today we're going to talk about the Hero Summer Colors and the Lamy. This isn't a review, I'm just talking about them. Basically, this is purely my opinion. I bought this in China. This is under half the price of a Lamy Safari, or in my case, my Lamy Joy. I found that actually, we'll talk about the crack later, that most of the parts are actually pretty much interchangeable. I've tried changing the nibs. I bought this in the first place because it had a 1.1 nib. This is in fact my first pen, and this has an M nib. I also hear they come out in the Summer Colors also comes out in F nib. The nibs are interchangeable. They feel the same. Typically, Lamy nibs aren't the smoothest. They have this slight roughness to them. Nothing wrong with it. It's just a little bit more friction. It's not rough. It's just more feedback. It's not a bad thing. It slows my writing down. The body caps are body caps. The bodies are not quite interchangeable. You can see that Lamy has their own cartridge converters. I think the Hero one is a regular one. If you look at the Lamy body, the ink window does not align properly. For the Hero Summer Colors, the ink window does align properly, but it's really loose. So they're not exactly the same. That's not my point. What I'd like to talk about is why would anyone buy this in the first place? And as someone who is Chinese, I believe my attempt at the explanation is basically Chinese know when a knockoff is a knockoff. When I bought this, I knew it would be a knockoff. I expect the quality to be proportional to its cost. This was half the price. I was totally not expecting this to write on the same level. Actually writing it though, it pretty much writes the same. However, as you can see here, what happened? A few weeks ago when I was recording another episode, I was waving this about while talking about letter writing, and then when I tried to put this in my back pocket, I heard a crack, and when it turns out the plastic on the top cannot support the clip being pulled back too far, and it snapped. And if this were any other pen, I would be horrified, but I bought this in full knowledge that the plastic quality would probably not be as good. In fact, another minor difference is that plastic on this, super durable. I've had this for the longest time. This one, you can actually see the bits sort of like it's got a tiny bit here where they ripped it. They pulled it off the cast when they cast this, but plastic is slightly worse. That was to be expected. The writing is exactly the same, but back to the point is what I'm trying to say is Chinese people know when there are knockoffs. That's why a lot of people from China come down to Hong Kong and buy our products, buy our jewelry, come here for jewelry and milk powder, because it is known to be reliable. Chinese brands, quite a few of them, we know they're not as reliable, and when we buy them, this is purely my opinion, I believe that we buy it in knowledge that it's cheaper, it's probably not going to be as good. And as you can see, it wasn't. Still, as a pure writing tool, it works great. It writes in a very similar fashion. They're both very dry writers. Hero Summer Colors, half the price of this, of Lamy Safaris, or Lamy Joy in this case. writes fine. And just draw something for fun. If call this. That's Lamy Hero. Here are Summer Colors. It's a cheap pen with cheap plastic. Writing experience is not bad. As like total side note, as a dry nib, I like it for sketching because what happens is that when you try and write fast, the line gets weaker and drier, and it's actually reasonably useful if you want that sort of slight shaded gradient effect in your drawings. If I were to suggest anyone a first pen, I would not choose any of these. As you know, I would probably go for the Pilot Metropolitan or the Pilot 78G. That's just my personal preference. But there is absolutely nothing wrong as far as writing is concerned with Lamy or Hero. They both write. It's very similar writing experience, but when you pay less, you should sort of expect the quality to not be quite there either. So yeah, I like it. I like this too. Here are some of the colors. Perfectly fine.